It's fantasy championship weekend and Peyton Manning is a risky play? The hell? It's like everything I've ever known is a lie. Welcome to Keepers. Congratulations on making your fantasy championship game, or the third place game, or the final of your consolation bracket. Whatever, the important thing is you're still playing fantasy football in week 16, and I'm here to help. Let's dive into this week's episode. Start Joique Bell. He's had over 100 yards each of the last 3 weeks and found the end zone 4 times during that span. 2 of those scores came in the Lions' first game against the Bears. And how are the Bears doing these days? Well, take a look in the general direction of Chicago. That pillar of smoke and fire on the horizon? Yeah, that's the Bears season. Sit Emmanuel Sanders if you have some depth at wideout. I know this is tough. His 1,200-yard season is what got you to the playoffs. But he hasn't found the end zone in 4 straight games, and his catches, targets, and yardage have all decreased each of those weeks. Add in Peyton Manning's dicey play recently and a Bengals D that's allowed the fewest passing touchdowns in the league, and I'd look for a better solution. Start Alex Smith. Yeah, that's right. I have faith in Alex Smith, and I'm not afraid to say it. Here's why. The last 8 quarterbacks to face the Steelers have thrown for multiple touchdowns, a list that includes Ryan Fitzpatrick, Michael Vick, and Zach Mettenberger. In a week with problematic matchups for top fantasy QBs like Peyton Manning and Russell Wilson, Alex Smith is a nice, safe play in Pittsburgh. Sit Larry Fitzgerald. The Seahawks have the league's best pass defense and have allowed just 2 passing touchdowns in their last 23 quarters. And they've had Fitty's numbers for the last 2 years. In his last 3 games against Seattle, he's averaged 2 catches for 12 yards. Hey, but at least Ryan Lindley's playing quarterback. Wait, that's also a bad thing. Never mind. Start Mark Sanchez. Yes, for your championship. Yes, I'm serious. Last week I said to start Eli Manning against a Washington defense that allows the highest passer rating of any team in NFL history besides the winless Lions of 2008. Manning had 250 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Go ahead and pencil Sanchez in for his best game of the year. Sit Owen Daniels. I'm sure he'd love to make a statement in his return to Houston, but don't count on it. The Texans are one of the best teams in the NFL at defending tight ends. They haven't given up 10 fantasy points to the position in a game all season. Figure in Daniels' anemic production for most of the year, and he's not the tight end to stream this week. Start Jonathan Stewart. D'Angelo Williams should be out again, which means another 20-plus carries for Stewart. With 3 consecutive solid performances from him, I have no problem starting him against a Browns team that allows 137 rushing yards per game, 2nd worst in the league. Last week was a pretty good performance for your old pal Matt. I nailed sitting Andy Dalton. He only threw for 117 yards to go with a pick and no TDs, despite his team scoring 30 points, and you got solid output from suggested starts for Eli Manning and Roddy White. My biggest miss? Sitting the Texans D, which got a pick 6 of Andrew Luck and 2 more sacks from J.J. Watt while keeping the Colts offense in check. The lesson, as always, never doubt J.J. Watt. It's going to be cold and damp in Cincinnati on Monday night, and while the tales of Peyton Manning struggling in cold weather are a false narrative endorsed by talk radio morons, Manning's been playing poorly enough over the last month that I'd strongly consider benching him this week. Now, would I start Mark Sanchez over Peyton? I'll take the 5th. I'm confident, not stupid. Something I like to do every year, whether or not I make my league's championship, is wake up on the morning of week 16 and drop all the players whose sorry-ass performances ruined or tried to ruin my fantasy season. So for this season finale of Keepers, we're changing Hire and Fire to Fire and Fire. That's right. Fire Trent Richardson. Why is he bad? How can someone with those physical gifts not identify a hole in the line of scrimmage? You're fired, Trent. Don't bother cleaning out your locker. The hazmat team is already sterilizing it so the next player isn't infected with your suckiness. Fire Zach Stacy. Just kidding, you got fired 2 months ago. I just wanted to remind you that some people used a 3rd-round pick on you. Ugh, I blame Brian Schottenheimer. Fire Cordero Patterson. Dude had 6 touchdowns in the final 5 weeks of the season last year, then scored 2 all season long. Hey, remember when fantasy owners couldn't decide to spend a 4th-round pick on you or Percy Harvin? Speaking of which, fire Percy Harvin. Sorry, I don't get fantasy points for punched teammates. Hope you're happy on the Jets, jerk-ass. Fire Terrence Williams. Hey, thanks for the solid performance early in the year. Couldn't you have broken your finger and become worthless before you made that insane catch on 3rd and 20 against my Seahawks? Excuse me, Cam Newton? Just wanted to make sure you're okay after that car accident. You're okay? Good, because you're fired. Thanks for 2 good games all season. Smile about that. Fire Reggie Bush. Hey, thanks for being healthy enough to get 4 carries every other week. Bishop Sankey, you're fired. I thought I could trust a man with a religious title for a first name. You have sullied the fantasy legacy of Priest Holmes, sir. Knock knock, who's there? Vernon. Vernon who? Vernon Davis with the worst season of his career, 1 year after scoring 13 touchdowns. Merry Christmas, you're all fired, I hate you forever. Yeah, that felt amazing. And folks, that concludes this season of Keepers. Be safe this holiday season and keep in mind that there are 2 Saturday games this weekend. Good luck, set your lineups, and I'll see you next year.